Hello, I promise, no April Fool's jokes. But it is April 1st, and that means that I want to do a really quick share with you about what I destashed this month and what I stashed this month and all of that kind of exciting things. And I'm kind of excited about it because it's not my average destash. So I think maybe you'll find it exciting too. And stay tuned, even if you're not like normally into those kind of just, hey, these are my numbers for the month. This one might be a little bit different. So stay tuned. All right, last week has been pretty chaotic here in the household. We are we're putting an awning cover up over our RV. And if you're not a long time watcher, you might not know, but most summers we head out for a 2 month RV trip just to kind of get out of the Arizona heat. And this summer we're not doing that because my husband needs to get shoulder surgery and bowling is like his top priority. So bowling goes from from September to May. So that means that the summer is the only time that he can really rehabilitate his shoulder. So we're not going to be doing a summer trip this year, but we still have our fifth wheel that's sitting out in the Arizona sun baking, which means we're going to be putting a cover over it. And that means that we've been spending all week kind of prepping the yard and getting the rocks moved and all of that good, household stuff. Plus, I had just all kinds of extra stuff going on this week, which in my, I like, I'm one of those kind of people that I like to have that routine, but I like to have some flexibility with the routine to have a little bit of spontaneity, but I don't like having total chaos in my schedule. I don't like trying to fit too many things in and not knowing what's going to happen where, what the schedule is. That is what just kind of like triggers me and sets me off a little bit. So it's been a challenging week for sure. And that's okay because it's not going to last forever. And I really just, it's an opportunity for me to work on some of those skills around embracing all of that good stuff, right? Because that's life. I can't plan every minutia detail of my life and then still have some spontaneity in it. That doesn't actually exist, right? Not in the long term. So it's just kind of one of those, hey, by the way, I'm supposed to be putting out a video today and I don't have the content up yet. Let's get on that. So here we are. And that's why, we're Farrah might make an appearance. I don't know. Normally, I love to have Farrah on my videos, stop in and to say hello and give a little color commentary. But I don't know how much time I'm going to have to bring her on board. So we'll just see. So let's talk some numbers and dive right in today. So this month was fabulous for my D-Stash goals. My goal for the year is to be 2,000 grams less than I started. Now, the reason that I use grams instead of skeins is because some of the skeins that I use are going to be teeny tiny little things, and then others are like huge, big honkin' things. There's no consistency in what I use. I don't have like one thing and I use all of that yarn. So I may have a yarn like this, and then, a big one. Like this. Well, those almost look like the same size. Maybe not. But it's just going to be all over the place. So for me, using grams is just the number that I've selected that says, okay, this is going to be more consistent across the board. So, and because I don't know exactly how much yarn that I actually have, because not every ounce of it is, not every gram of it. Now I'm going back and forth. Not every gram of it is logged. Uh, Most of it is, but there's little bits of like scrap balls that I don't know what. I mean, I know how many grams this is. I don't know how many yards it is. So grams is easier to measure than yards, which is the reason that I use grams, because I can just stick this on a scale and boom, I have the number of grams. I can't do that with yards. I'd have to unroll the whole thing. So, just saying how much I'm going to reduce between, like if I track everything from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and I could say, for the year, I brought in this many grams and I reduced by this many grams. I want the reduced number to be 2,000 higher than the brought in. Does that make sense? I feel like it's one of those days where I feel like I'm kind of all over the place. Hopefully you're okay with that. So, the goal for the year is to reduce the stash by 200 grams, which means I use 200 grams more than I brought in. Hey, da-ding! That's what it is. Okay. Whew. Glad I got that out of the way. So this month was a really, really, really good month for that, because I did not buy any yarn at all whatsoever. None. Zero. Well, that's not true. I actually did do a Hobie.com purchase, but it hasn't arrived yet, so I'm going to put that on the April numbers instead of the March numbers. So that's the kind of a fudge. It's actually supposed to be arrived today, but it's going on the April numbers, not the March numbers, because I don't have it in my greedy little hands yet. However, while I did not buy any yarn, I was gifted 700 grams of this very, very stunning yarn. This, and there's actually like 3 more balls of this that I've already taken out to start using. This is called, Trendsetter Yarns Phoenix Prints. And it is a 66% viscose, 34% cotton, 50 grams per ball, and I got 14 balls of this. So that's 700 grams increased. Now this is really lovely because I'm going to show you the project that I started working on, because it shows you already much better some of the properties of this yarn. So as I stretch this out, this has a lot of different colors in it. So you can see some grays and silvers and charcoals and olives and some really light kind of green toned whites. So it's really, really pretty. And all of that is on, it just kind of changes colors within the ball. Now, the other interesting thing about this yarn, it's what's called thick and thin. And what that means is that you'll see parts of it that are kind of on the thinner side. And then as you go up, it starts to get bumpy. And so you can see those bumps. And so it changes the texture as you're going through. Which meant I had to find a project that I could use that with, because there's not a lot of them out there. Fortunately, I'm kind of working to modify a pattern. The pattern that I have is it uses a DK weight yarn. This is technically a worsted weight yarn because of those thicker spots. So I'm kind of winging it. I'm taking the inspiration from that pattern and modifying it to use the thicker, chunkier kind of yarn. Hopefully it turns out fabulous. I think it will, but we're just going to kind of keep our fingers crossed on that one. So that was the only yarn that came into my possession this month. That's good. Now, what I used up a lot of the cotton for the Great Crochet T-shirt experiment number 2, and I'll link to that down below if you haven't kind of checked out those. But the only 2 patterns that I actually finished this month, bigger patterns, are those 2 T-shirts. So the whole month was kind of focused on the Great Crochet T-shirt experiment, and I'm very happy that I finished both of those. I did finish a couple of hairbands, but that just uses a minuscule amount, like 5 grams of yarn. So that doesn't count for a whole lot, but hey, 10 grams is 10 grams, right? So we're going to count it. So I used up 140 grams of the cotton purple, 86 grams of the cotton dark gray, and 119 grams of the cotton light gray. And then I used a little bit of yarn for some ongoing projects as well. So I used up 1 skein for the blanket, granny square blanket, and that is the I Love This yarn. So that was 142 grams. I did use up 1 skein of this already for that project. So that was 50 grams. And then I have another project that I'm working on that I used 100 grams of chroma fingering. So used this month was 647 grams. So between the used and what I brought in, I actually increased the stash a little bit. So why am I so excited? Well, that's what I want to tell you right now. If you did not know this, Ravelry has a feature. I know, have I talked a lot about Ravelry? Another Ravelry playlist link down below so you can check out all of the videos on how to use and maximize your Ravelry account. Ravelry has the option to list your stashed yarn as for sale, which means that somebody else that might be looking for that particular yarn can find your yarn and make an offer to you to buy your yarn. And that's what happened this month. It's so exciting. So somebody that for the first time since I've had my yarn listed, which has been probably about a year and a half, somebody came around and said, hey, by the way, I'm interested in some of the yarn that you have listed. And I asked her which ones, if she could make a list of the ones that I had, because I don't have pricing on most. Well, I'm starting to add pricing just because, people are more likely to buy if they actually see what you're willing to sell it for. So I'm starting to add a little bit of notes with the pricing. And if you're interested in how to sell your yarn on Ravelry, let me know. I'll do a walkthrough of what I've got how I have that set up as well. But she gave me a list and I priced out each of the items for her. She uses the yarn to make blankets for charities and adult centers as well as her family and that kind of thing. And she chose a lot of the yarn that I was not going to otherwise use in this lifetime. Like, it's beautiful yarn. A lot of it was the boucle yarn, which is kind of that bubbly. It's got extra hooks to it, and I have tried to crochet with it a few times. I don't love using it. I was going to probably make like a wrap or something with it just because I wanted to actually use it and kind of get it out of the stash. But I had a lot of it. So there was going to be a long time before I was going to get around to using all of this, if I ever did, if I didn't just get to the point where it's like, no, I just don't like it. And there was some acrylic in there that was more on the scratchy side of the acrylic that I don't care to use because it makes my hands feel icky when I'm working with it. So I just didn't want to use those. And I was more than happy to rehome those particular items. So I actually gave her a pretty good deal on those, I think. Hopefully she felt it was a good deal too. And I boxed a lot of yarn. I mean, this was like a probably a 12 by 14 size box. So it was large. And I kind of pressed everything down in there really good to make sure that it all fit. And I sent that off, and she was thrilled to have all of that new and beautiful yarn. So that means that well, let me kind of go through these, and you can probably see them on my Ravelry. I'll actually link to my Ravelry account down below so you can check those out. But I sold 454 grams of Buttercream Luxe Craft. Now, a lot of these yarns are discontinued. Some of them are old Joanne yarns, and some of them are just kind of random stuff. Not all of them are discontinued, but a lot of them are. So the Buttercream Luxe Craft, 454 grams of Joanne Sensations in the multi, 227 grams of Joanne Sensations in the Boucle Rainbow. And there was another Joanne Sensations, 100 grams, 67 grams of Homespun Lion Brand, 274 grams of Super Saver Red, White, and Green Christmas colors, 300 grams of Vanna's Choice Light Green. I'm not a big fan of the Vanna's Choice. I got it in a Lion Brand Santa sack, and I didn't like the way it felt. So I'm like, yeah. And it's a green that I probably wouldn't be using. It is not my green, so I was happy to get rid of that one. 304 grams of the Big Twist Value Solids in brownish red. Now this is a stash that I had bought for making pumpkin placemats, and I ended up not using this color, but I started out with like 6 large skeins of this, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this all? So I gave some of it to my niece, and I sold some of it. I did keep a little bit of it because it's nice to have it around for smaller decorative pumpkins, but I didn't eat that much. Another Boucle Joanne Sensations in neutral, 196 grams, and then 103 grams of light camo in an acrylic, which totals 2,407. That just stole my thunder. Let's try this again. 2,479 grams sold. And now I'm going to sneeze. Watermelon. Did you know if you're going to sneeze and you push on your nose, push up and say watermelon, a lot of times it helps you not to sneeze. Just a side fact. Try it. You might like it. So 2,479 sold. So that and the 647 that I used up, plus the 700 grams that I brought in, resulted in a net decrease, am I saying that right, of 2,426 grams destashed. Woo! All the confetti and shouting and cheering, yay! That to me is awesome. I'm like, yay! And I think that probably is partly why I said, oh, hey, I can buy some more yarn. So, but I did not buy as much as I got rid of, so I think we're good on that. So that means so far for the year, for January, February, and March, I am down. I have destashed 1,578 grams. January, I kind of went up, we'll be honest, but I've been consistent. February and March, I went down. So that whole total means that I am only 423 grams away from my goal. And it's only April 1st. That's not an April 1st joke, I promise. So that's pretty exciting to me. I'm actually really, really happy with that. And the yarn that I have coming in is slotted. Most of it is slotted for some very specific projects. I've been like looking for certain colors and certain things because my juices are flowing on some projects that I want to work on. So those are really, really specific to those projects. So I I'm okay with that. I really, 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 really am. And we've got one of our big yarn companies or yarn stores that's going out of business this month, so I may actually buy some more. My thought process is buy it when there are advantages or reasons to. Like I've got a woolen fiber festival coming up the end of May, beginning of June. So I'll probably buy some really beautiful colors, hand spuns, hand dyed there. No idea. It's going to be on the smaller side in the classes they put out. I'm not that impressed with. But that doesn't mean that the vendors are going to be that bad. So I'm really more engaged with the vendors. So we'll see. I do have plans. I'm not on a stash diet. I am not trying to not buy anything, but I want to do so conscientiously and conservatively and make sure that what I'm buying has specific plans and not just because it's pretty yarn, but it's such pretty yarn. So, yeah, so that's the month of March. I really hope that you enjoy these videos. I have fun doing them. I have fun just peeping into your home for a little bit and sharing some updates with you. You know, that's why I'm kind of busting my hump to make sure that I get these videos out on time because I do enjoy that process. So if you love these, make sure that you subscribe. I have a goal of getting to 300 subscribers by May 4th, which is my 1 year YouTube channel anniversary. So 300 subscribers, kind of a big deal for me to get there because it's a leap to get that many subscribers in a month because I'm hovering right about 240 right now. And I usually bring in about 35 new subscribers a month. So that'll be kind of a big stretch. But I hope you'll join me. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on Friday because Friday is going to be my video on my 2 year crochet anniversary. So I'm going to share with you some of my wins, some of my fails, some of those things that I have done right, and just kind of do a review of all the things that I've accomplished over the last 2 years, which in the scheme of sounding like all of these other people seems like it's nothing. Like it's a drop in the bucket. But to me, it feels like I've spent, well, I don't usually dedicate that much time to a craft. So I'm pretty committed here. So let's see. Let's see what I've done, and you can kind of compare your journey as well if you want. No comparisons required. Just have fun with it. So we'll see you on Friday. Thanks so much.